Welcome to Gear Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris.
I'm Annie.
And this is Brooke.
And this week, we're talking about the Seavenger SeaSnug Socks. This is a very important topic. A lot of people have asked us questions about this. These are quote, Brooke's, secret kit piece.
Ooh.
This is a thing that she hangs
this
her hat on.
This will win you races.
So that's what we're going to talk about this week. But first...
Brooke has a statement she'd like to make.
Oh, gosh. Okay, guys. I would just like to apologize to all of our millions of listeners out there who
tens of millions.
Tens
tell us if you,
such a wide audience.
If you did get the Zephyr, tell us what you think about it.
Yeah. Maybe it's even better than the
It
SeaSnug, which I highly doubt, but possibly.
Wow.
All right. So how about first impressions on gear that anyone's trying? Or is that just me?
I think that's right to you, Chris.
Yeah, that's you, Chris.
Oh, man.
Way to set it up on a tee.
Yeah, it's like, set them up, I'll just knock them down. So I have several pieces of first impression. So I've recently been testing out the Arc Kangaroo top, and I've been sort of anti-undergarments.
We know.
That
sounds
general.
I think our
Sundays
our 50 listeners definitely already know what happens on Sundays. But I have a little thing to put on that too. So I've been trying the Arc Kangaroo top. It's awesome. That's it. 2 words. It's awesome. Right. It's great. It works out great. It doesn't feel cumbersome. Fits tightly to the skin. The pockets are really helpful. I didn't realize how annoying it was to have sort of my paddles banging on long runs.
You kind of had them on your belt like Batman, like a utility belt.
like on a carabiner.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's like my peeve. I hate that.
Well,
I can't even run by somebody who has those.
Yeah, we have to run. We have to run fast past them.
Well,
which is motivation.
Well, so I feel like that problem's a problem I didn't know I had has been solved, which is interesting. My second first impression is...
Oh, can I stop you there, actually? Sure. So on the Kangaroo top, I actually just found this out because I've been using it for a while. I used it all the way back in Catalina. There's actually 2 mini pockets on your side of your chest on the left and right that actually perfectly fit 1 or 2 gels on. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I can stuff about 2 gels on each side, and they're kind of out of the way, and they won't be...
like under your armpit?
No, it's kind of going that way.
It's like right by your nipples.
It's right. Yeah, it's on the out. Yeah, depending.
Nipple gels.
Yeah, nipple gels. So that is a hidden feature potentially.
Yeah,
or not also hidden. Have a question for Chipper. Chris has shared his first impression of him having a kangaroo top. What is your first impression of Chris having a kangaroo top?
I think I'm happy that he's
gonna carry his own snacks.
He's gonna carry his own snacks now, and he has probably a better place for the pressure bandage and the thing, because there is that kind of behind. There's the lower back thing on the Kangaroo as well.
Yeah.
But I also noticed that Chris didn't keep his paddles in there every time, so it's nice to have the options.
Yeah. So
he needs some place for his emotional baggage, right?
Oh. Yeah,
we're sharing that equally.
The Kangaroo top is not big enough for that. Okay. So I've been kind of practicing keeping the paddles on and just running with them, because that seems to be, you see a lot of people do that, just kind of get them out of the way. So I changed sort of my wrist straps to be a little bit sturdier, so I can just take my finger loop out and then just kind of flip them around and do whatever I need to do.
Nice.
So yeah. So second impression is this has been a problem for Chip. It's not a problem for me, but it's a problem for Chipper, that I need to swim with earplugs. I'm just like one of those people. And during races, it's hard for us to communicate unless I'm like in eyesight of him. If he's behind me, I can't. I'm always like, sorry, didn't hear you. And then Chipper's like, oh, never mind. I
was telling a great story, Chris. Thanks for listening.
So I tried these earplugs that are intended for surfing. They're called Surf Ears. They're pretty pricey. They're like $60, but they're excellent. Can hear no problem. Keeps the water out, lets the sound in. It even has a little lanyard type thing, so you can keep them around your neck, so you don't have to wear them flying off, which is great because they're $60. But I've used them for about 2 weeks and super stoked on them.
Chris, do you have to wear earplugs because you get dizzy?
Yeah, so I get the problem, just like the cold water problem, where I can get disoriented coming out of the water. And just like my ear canals, it's hard for me to sort of drain the water that's in there. And I just sort of hate that feeling. And when you're swimming 3-4 times a week, it's just, that would just be super annoying. So I've been wearing them for years, 10 years, in one form or another. It's fun for triathlon because you could just take the silicone ones and just pop them out when you're done. But for swimrun, for Catalina, I basically had earplugs in the whole time. Those
are just on Amazon, so we'll put those in the show notes.
You can see them on. Yeah, we'll list them. They worked really great. So if that's an issue and you want to have better communication with your partner, which is a key aspect of having a successful swimrun adventure or race, then I'd recommend them. I guess the final mini impression is for the last 3 swimrun practices, I've been going commando under my Vig, and it's been great.
Because the Vig is like underwear.
It's just like underwear. Yeah. I think it's totally unnecessary.
Is there any modesty issues?
Well, I'm Puerto Rican, so modesty isn't my problem.
Chipper, is there any modesty issues?
So I only knew about 2 of these 3 swims, so I'm going to say no. But no, I haven't. There's been no. Yeah. He told me like halfway through. I'm like, oh, really? I feel like I wouldn't. But
I wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah. No. There's also there's actually like a right in sort of the crotch area. There is like a thicker piece of neoprene, sort of like right in the middle. So it kind of holds the jellies.
Everything kind of bundled down a little bit.
But that's it. I think. That's all I have in terms of impressions. Any update on the Corp? Or Corp?
Corp. I have used it a handful of times on swim runs. It is snowing now here, so it has gotten quite cold, and the lakes are pretty cold. So I'm using kind of a more thicker wetsuit. But so far, I'm loving it. Actually, the only minor update is kind of to your pocket, your kangaroo top. I wear the new Lapa shirt, and I put my paddles in pouches in that top. And because of the water issue going through my Corp, the paddles get tossed out of the pockets, and I found them in my low back by the time I exited a swim.
Whoa!
Wait,
yeah.
Why were your paddles in your wetsuit?
Weren't you using the paddles for the swim?
Oh, wait. Oh, it wasn't my paddle. It was my my water bottle. My collapsible water bottle.
Items.
Okay. So miscellaneous items were
migrated all the way to my low back. I thought I'd lost it at sea, and then I found it later on while I was running.
That has to be just really freaky. You get out and where is this thing? And it's by your back.
No, that's happened to me too. With the it's like a hydro pack or hydro flask, whatever 16-ounce bottle, and I had that same issue that I had it, but as I was swimming, I could feel it move kind of around, like it was just making its way around in my wetsuit.
I didn't even feel it. I think it's a problem. I think that's a significant amount of water to push it, because those pockets are actually pretty sturdy. I mean, they're elastic, so they wrap around the objects.
Yeah,
and they're netting. So it's
I'm just trying
a lot
to
of water
how
going
that
through
happened.
there to push it out and push it back.
Wow.
So I don't know. It might be my drag suit.
You always race or swim run with a bottle or with some collapsible thing?
No, but it just depends if I can't get to the car, for an aid station type thing.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if
I usually race with a collapsible cup for races, not the bottle.
Great. So,
I also had another application. I don't know if this is a gear update, but this is another use of the Arc keel. And I think the super keel, is it called the super keel?
The plus.
Keel plus.
Keel plus would even be better.
Just like everything else, Disney Plus.
But if you guys are thinking about your Halloween costumes, think about incorporating this thing. Because I'm going to be an emu. And if I stack 2 keels on top of each other and put them behind my back, it creates a nice little bird butt.
Interesting.
I like it.
Or
Yeah.
you could be like the hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You could.
The swim-run hunchback of the archipelago.
Nice. Okay, so multifaceted this keel.
This keel.
So we're introducing a new segment. It's called Guest Impressions. And the genesis of this was essentially someone sent us an impression of gear that they tried after they heard it on the show. And so we thought we would just include it. So this is from our good friend G-Flow in Germany. He said that he recently got the Frank paddles, the carbon fiber paddles, and he'd been using the Arc blades. And he said that he found on first impressions that the flex was really different. That the speed wasn't much faster, but that the Arc was flexing a lot, and he felt over 1,000 meters like his fingers needed to do more work to control them. Whereas with the carbon fiber paddles, I guess his fingers felt fine. He thinks that maybe fatigue would be an issue of the Arcs and the Arc blades if it's a long enough event. And he also said that the water feel on the Frank paddles was really great as well, which I'm assuming it'd be similar to the Arc ones because there's no real holes or anything, but maybe because they were stiffer. And then he also made a prediction that he thinks that pretty much every winner of Attila in the future is going to be using Frank paddles. Just pretty bold.
Wow.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Flex wasn't really something that we talked about in our swim paddles episode necessarily.
No, or feel of water. It makes sense that if something isn't as flexible, the vibrations and kind of texture of the water is going to transmit more clearly. It's an interesting concept.
Wow. Well, thanks, G-Flow, for sending that along. And if anyone else has any, feedback on any of the stuff we have talked about or don't, keep sending those things over. I know the Swimrun Labs team has gotten some emails about the Seavenger Socks as well.
Which is why
oh
we're
my
having
gosh.
this
The
episode.
day that I called Brooke up and said, Brooke, you won't believe it. Someone is emailing us about the Seavenger Socks.
Was the best
Great
day
day.
of my life.
And so shout out to Lindy from the UK, who actually reached out after listening to our budget kit show and had some questions about the Seavenger sock. And she had her eye on a different sock and just wanted to know if we'd ever tried it because she suffers from cold feet in races that have a lot of chilly water. Sure. So she had found something that's available in the UK, and I don't think they're actually available. Oh, no, you can purchase them in the US. So it's an Innovate product called the Extreme Thermo Sock High. So it's like a mid-calf neoprene sock, and it's full neoprene. It's a seam-free cuff, and that was the sock that she had proposed and wanted to know if we had any beta on, which we don't. So, Lindy, I know that you use this for, if you are listening, that you use this for the Keen as Mustard event over in the UK, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on it, how it worked out for you.
Definitely.
Ooh, and just to kind of clarify, this Extreme Thermo Sock High is similar to the Seavenger's Zephyr, not the SeaSnug of which we were talking about today, but it's like a full-on neoprene.
I noticed that as well, Brooke. Great segue. So let's take it in to the review time. So we're going to break this down, kind of run performance, swim/water performance, and then if we transition, and then after we all comment on that in a round table style event, then we will all assign it said pull buoy ranking system out of 1 to 5 pull buoys.
You should be a debate moderator.
Where's my mute button? So the Seavenger SeaSnug you can find on Amazon. They will run you, it says on their site, $10 to the ones that we got were $15.95, so relatively cheap. I think like a Swift Wick sock is probably $30. So it's about half
18.
18. Thank you, Annie. They come in what I would call an expansive collection of colors and designs.
And very, very,
very expansive.
Very expansive. I would even say it's eclectic.
Whoa.
Because it's just all over the place.
It is. Yeah, that is true.
It's amazing.
And some features that they say adjustable fit. There is a little Velcro thing where you would Velcro enclosure that you can snug it right up to your calf, which is great. Yeah. So it anyway, I think, are we all ready? Do we all have our thoughts?
Well, and it's essentially neoprene sock where the base and the toe and heel box is a thicker neoprene.
Yeah.
Surrounded by stitching, and then sort of the upper
Lycra
is Lycra with a little Velcro thing.
So it's a partial neoprene sock.
Yeah.
And I want to point out too, there's the SeaSnug ankle sock for those. I wear the ankle sock. I know you guys like the high rise socks, but I wear the ankle sock, and it does not have the SeaSnug Velcro because
makes sense.
You don't really need it. It just goes around your ankle.
Yeah, so there's neoprene that would be cover the top of your toes on the entire bottom, and then basically like a heel cup that you would sit in, and then everything else is just kind of Lycra, like a cycling kit or something like that. So, Brooke, I think there's no one more fitting to start this off than with you.
So I think this sock is incredible. Surprise. Should we talk about maybe the swim first?
Let's do it.
Okay. So for me on the swim, I don't know if I suffer from getting cold feet because I've always worn these socks on like really cold swim runs. And I've never had a problem with getting cold feet. So I don't know if the neoprene is helping out with that. But on the swim, I feel like the neoprene kind of fills up with water a little bit. So it actually, which sounds bad, but it actually makes the sock really snug in the shoe. So I just don't even notice it. Just everything feels, gosh, we're going to be using this word a lot, or I am. Everything feels snug, like truly snug in my shoe in a good way. So for the swim, I think it's awesome.
If you're playing the Low Tide Boys drinking game,
that's 3 shots.
Snug is the word of the day.
Snug is the word.
So I use these. I did my own when I did a solo swim run a couple weeks ago, which was actually a total bummer. If you heard that episode where I chatted about it, it was like so much fun, so much more fun to do it with other people.
Welcome to my world, Chris. Sorry,
yeah. Oh my God. So I did a full swim run practice, running at effort, swimming at effort. Was out there for about an hour. At one point, I did stop by the car to see if I had a different pair of socks I could put on. So that's just a little foreshadowing.
What?
But in the swim, I actually thought they were really good. They're really good in the swim. I was wearing really drainy shoes. I was wearing my Solomon Amphibs that just drain like crazy. So I mean they stayed on. They were snug for sure. It was a non-issue in the water, and I've used a bunch of different socks, and there's only been one or two where I've been like, yeah, this is a mistake in the water. They were great in the swim.
And then Annie?
So I will just speak to something Brooke said, which is that you've never had cold feet on a swim run. And I've done a fair number of swim runs with you in which I have had cold feet. So, everybody has a different threshold for cold feet. But I think it's safe to say that those may have helped you out in preventing cold feet. My testing has been a little bit alternative because I am reporting from the injury reserve bench. And so I tested my socks not with shoes on for swimming, but just with socks on because I've just been doing a bunch of cold water, open water swims. But I found, so if these don't end up being part of your swim run kit, I found a few different ways that they can be really useful for other things. So wearing them just as a protection for your feet for entering and exiting the water, if you aren't wearing shoes, it's like you're wearing shoes. Like my feet were safe and the water's getting quite cold. And I did feel like they provided some insulation during the swim.
So kind of like booties, right?
What's that?
Just like swim booties?
Yeah. And I actually have some complete neoprene swim booties from Blue 70, just socks, but they even have a thermal lining. And I felt like these were not quite as toasty, but surprisingly comparable and way easier to get off when your fingers are frozen.
Oh,
That's good to know.
interesting.
So that adjustable cuff on the SeaSnug high sock helps to make them unsnug at the clutch moment when you need to get them off your foot.
That's a double drink.
Very true. That's a double shot. So my testing that I did for the swim specifically, I did not get a chance to actually test them while swimming, but I did get them wet and running them.
I think, well, why don't we save that for transition?
Okay.
Because
I have my own experiment.
Yeah,
if you
Chipper
will.
did science again. I don't know who this person is.
We can talk about transition. Chip, do you want to
Let's transition to transition. So the test that I did, I put the Seavenger SeaSnugs on. I put my regular, my running shoes on, and I went for a 2-mile out and back run. Then I came back, and it's been hot here. I think it was like 80 or 90 that day, and we have a little kiddie pool out front. And I had it filled up with water before I went on my run, and then I came back, and I stood in the water and ran a hose over my shoes and Seavenger SeaSnugs for 2 minutes. And then straight away, I jumped out of the pool and ran the same out and back loop. And I was able to make some assessments there.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Tell us more.
Are we going to hear the assessments?
So
that's what this show's about, Chip.
So
A lot of foreshadowing.
I
in this
did
show.
notice that what Brooke, I felt what was the word that you used for the bogginess? I felt
boggy,
they were
yeah.
a little bit boggy on the run when they were wet. I felt, because there is kind of the whole bottom is that neoprene, but it feels like it's a little foamy. I felt when that was soaked with water running, I was getting the squishy run.
Can you make the sound effect you made for
It
me?
was like,
Ooh.
like that.
So apt, yeah.
Or at least a mile. So, 5.5 minutes for me, but for others, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, depending.
Yeah, for all of the rest of us.
Yeah, for the mortals, 8 to 10 minutes. And I thought they stayed up pretty well. I had no issues with the snug Velcro position, but I did feel that if the similar to having your paddles banging against your hip when you're running or some weird noises bother you, if squishy socks, if that feeling is going to bother you, might be a deal breaker for you.
What was that
So,
sound
Chip,
again?
I have a question about what do you normally wear for socks?
So I normally wear a Swift Wick or a knee-high kind of compression-y type sock. So it's...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
synthetic.
a Sifwick Aspire, which
Aspire.
was,
Yeah.
I think it was a recommendation from you, Brooke. Yeah, and you were also using the CEPs before that.
Yeah, so some kind of like knee-high compression type sock is what I was going with.
So
Thin.
I did a little science on my end, too,
Ooh.
between the Seavenger SeaSnug and the Swiftwick Aspire. And I weighed them both dry on a kitchen scale. And then I submerged them in water for 5 minutes. And then I hung dry them for 2 minutes. And then I weighed them again. And while the Swiftwick is like 8 grams lighter than the SeaSnug dry, it retained 46 more grams of water.
Wow.
Interesting.
So the dry to wet ratio for the SeaSnug was 0.42, which 1 is a perfect ratio, right? And the Swiftwick was 0.3. So
You had me at ratio. That's all.
Another drinking word game. So they actually, I thought it was interesting that they overall retain more water. And I think that might be due to the Lycra on the SeaSnug. While the neoprene might retain water, although I don't know that. Do we know for sure that neoprene does retain a lot of water? Because that's what wetsuits are made of.
It doesn't seem super
Sounds like
porous
water to me.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know,
sounds
though.
like
I guess
water,
we don't know. It sounds
but-
like water.
but the scale paints a different picture.
Yeah.
Very
That's interesting. And I will say on my run with Soggy SeaSnugs, I didn't feel that there was water actually inside of the sock that was like trapped or anything. It just felt like it was kind of like that wet diaper effect on the bottom. of it.
Because there's like more area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my experience with them in transition and running, I really didn't like them. I don't know if it was like the sort of the seams or something, but after the first run, I was like, I'm already kind of not having a good time with these. They were just definitely squishy. Just didn't feel like, just felt like they were moving around a little bit more than I had been used to. And on my penultimate run, I actually ran to the car real quick to see if I had another pair of socks so I could, finish the workout in just normal socks. I didn't.
But
so
to kind of clarify how much you didn't like them, if you didn't have another pair of socks, would you have gone sockless instead of wear the Seavengers?
Yeah, at the time, that wasn't a consideration, so I just left them on when I didn't have an extra pair of socks in the car and just did my final run. I mean, it wasn't horrendous, but I felt like if I was just running chill, it wasn't a problem, but I was actually trying to run like at tempo. It was just, I wasn't enjoying them.
Okay, I'm a little sad right now, but it'll pass.
I'm sad too. Like when I told Chipper, I was like, oh my God, Brooke is going to be so disappointed. But hey,
I am.
And then how was your run experience, Brooke, with the SeaSnugs?
Well, I want to speak to transition first, and I think Annie and I might have mentioned this like in a previous show, but one of the main reasons that I like them, that I have not had such a positive experience with the Swiftwick, and this could be based on like my foot shape and the shoe that I'm wearing, but for me, they are so snug in my shoe that I don't get any debris in my shoe. Even when we like did Casco and there's like a lot of sandy beach runs, at one point Annie had to like dump her shoes, and at the end of the race, like I could take off my socks and I had like no sand in them. So that's kind of the main selling point for me, and that's why I think I'll continue to wear them.
Yeah, I can co-sign on that. I mean, my transitions were on a sandy beach, and they weren't. My feet have definitely gotten sandier in Swiftwicks than they have in the SeaSnugs.
Yeah,
but you're right. If you're used to wearing like such a minimalist sock like the Swiftwick, it's such a thin sock, and then you go to this, I'm sure it feels like super cumbersome and seamy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's
so it might just be what you're used to. Like I started out with these on our first swim run, so it's just like.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect word. Definitely, like seamy was my main complaint.
Yeah.
I didn't wear them for a run, but I did wear them for an alternative to running, which I have been doing, and I have really made an effort to never say the word on this Swimrun podcast, but I'm going to say it right now.
We'll just call it the B word.
The B word.
Or you could say it and I'll just censor it out.
Yeah, okay. Leave it out.
So I did wear them. I just kind of got this harebrained idea. I commute to work on, so it wasn't actually a workout, but it today was 39 degrees and pouring rain.
Oh, Lord.
And I was like, I'm going to wear the Seavenger socks so that my toes don't get freezing like they did yesterday. And that was a really good application of the Seavenger socks. And so I live in the Pacific Northwest where it is like 39 degrees and rainy all winter long. And I ride my B word in that weather all winter long, because if you don't do it, you're going to stay inside, which I don't want to do. Yeah. So in that way, it is consistent with the ethic of Swimrun in that I must be in nature. And the only way to be in nature in my town in the winter is go outside in the rain. And if you have to go outside in the rain to train, these are kind of great.
Ooh,
yeah, I mean, I could really see this.
I like it. Make it feel better, Annie.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like that should be standard issue in some place where it's just cold and miserable.
Yeah, so these could maybe be part of your kit for select applications, certainly not for like your tempo day maybe, unless these were your first ever and only swimrun socks and you are blind to others. But they do have a lot of good uses.
Well, you know what's interesting? I've never, because I also live in the Pacific Northwest on the drier side these days, but when you go for like wet, rainy, cold trail runs, like I've never even thought about wearing my Seavenger socks. I always just wear like running socks, and they are always wet and squishy, and
Yeah.
I get like
Ooh.
wrinkle feet. Like
I sense a
wrinkle
gear
toes.
update in our future.
Yeah, like I totally am going to start wearing these on my wet, rainy trail runs.
I love it.
And then maybe you won't get mud foot either.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Seavengers.
Well, I took them on my run, and granted, it was in the 80s, if not the 90s, when I went on a run. My feet got very, very hot in a 2-mile run. Like, kind of, It felt like I was running on hot plates a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, and
yeah, I was wondering about the like sweat dissipation because
Yeah.
I don't get particularly sweaty in my feet.
and they were pretty snug with my regular
As
kind of shoe
advertised.
size on, as the name might imply.
Were you wearing
were-
your swim run shoes that you usually
I was
wear?
I wasn't wearing my same swim run shoes, but they have the same upper.
Gotcha.
So they're very breathable. They're the Hoka One Rincons. So they're very like permeable uppers. But yeah, I mean, my feet just got really hot, and then I will agree with Chris. I just ran a total of 4 miles in these socks, and I did feel that the seams were kind of starting to give me concern about that I would be getting blisters and stuff, just because when I like pulled my foot out of it, I looked on the inside, and there's just seams all over this bad boy that are kind of, it seems to me it's only a matter of time before you.
It seems to you.
Like what you did
Wow,
there.
I didn't even. That just came natural.
Can you add a
Yeah,
rim
that
shot?
was beautiful, Chip.
I'll add that in too. Man,
It
I
was
got a lot of work
seamless.
to do on this show. And I will say, actually, for just doing one run in them, the Lycra actually was kind of pilling a little bit, and some spots I almost got like what's a little bit of a hole.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, and I didn't, I kind of have like, yeah, I don't know why that happened, but because I had it fully Velcroed up, but my right foot does tend to kind of hit my calf in one certain area. I guess I just got a lazy right foot or ankle or something. And so I do always have like a dirt mark on my calf. Have you ever noticed that when I run?
I have
Okay,
now.
haven't been- now you're gonna
I'm never
look.
gonna not
Every
notice it.
run, it's always there because my foot kind of hits my calf all the time,
Just on one side.
just on one side. So maybe it was wearing it down a little bit. But I did think that if you do get cold feet in the swim, and that's a problem for you, these absolutely is the answer for you.
Although with the seam observation, maybe we should check out, and I think I'm going to order them and try them and give you guys an update. The Lindy's recommendation of the
Innovate.
Innovate
Yeah.
extreme thermal
Extreme thermo sock.
extreme thermal socks because they're seamless.
I am actually looking at it, and they have a seamless cuff.
They say seamless, but
Nope,
they
they
have
say
like
seam-free
seam.
cuff.
Oh,
and there's a
okay.
seam at the heel.
At the mid tarsal, at the halocrural joint.
Halocrural joint. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
The
yeah,
ankle.
there we go.
that's what I was
Drink.
gonna say.
Drink a big one. But the seams don't look nearly as chunky as the Seavenger seams.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's another one worth mentioning out there that I have done some winter swim runs in, which is the Blue 70 swim sock.
Yeah.
And that does have seams. I was super skeptical that I would not get blisters and feel one with nature, but those worked well for a winter swim
So,
run
Annie, I
as
have,
well.
I have a
Are those
question
the
about
thermal
that.
ones too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have a
Famous
thermal panel in the sole.
So,
Okay,
I have a question. So, those have, I mean, that's like standard issue for triathletes and
In San Francisco.
in Northern California. But they have like a little tread on the bottom. Did you find that those kind of bugged you while you were
No,
running
they
out?
didn't. I was very pleasantly surprised. I was like, this is going to suck. And it totally didn't. I just had a swim run.
Cool.
Great. Any more run thoughts, Brooke? Did you touch on the run part?
Yeah, I totally hear what you guys are saying about the seams and the squishiness. And again, I think it's maybe I'm just, it was my first thing I tried and I wore it for years until I tried something different. And so it just never bothered me, It's kind of like wearing my Orca wetsuit and then trying on the arc and being like, oh, I didn't realize what I was missing, all that time. So,
well, this is probably a good point for me to make a comment that I make a lot, which is just like, that's one of the beauties of swimrun, right? There's so many ways to get from A to B. And I mean, one of the reasons we're doing this show is because there's just so many options out there. So we're trying to like just give people our experience so they can hopefully, skip a few steps in the trial and error process or whatever.
Yeah, or even maybe one thing is way to think about it is skipping a few steps in the trial and error process. But another way to think about it is like everybody's going to maybe like something a little different too, because we like really varied wildly on shoes and so it's also kind of just like trial and error it as well, and figure out what works for you. But because for me, like I did try the more minimalist sock and I don't like it as well. But maybe there's another thermal sock out there that I hate to say it blows the Seavenger SeaSnug out of the water. But I doubt it. I really doubt it.
Lindy, we're waiting for your impressions.
Yeah.
Guess the impressions.
Yeah. Hopefully you've sent us an email already whilst you're listening. Yeah, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, so you want to do overall?
Overall ratings?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Brooke, do you want to go first or would you rather close it out this time?
I think we should end all of our shows on a positive note.
Yeah. So Chris, why don't you go first?
I'll go first. So I'll go first then. I would give these 2 pull buoys. Which is the lowest score I've ever given. Again, they're okay on the run. I mean, they're okay on the swim, but I think pretty much anything would be okay on the swim. If transition and running, they just totally weren't for me. They might be for other people, but yeah.
Chris, I feel like I have to now give you.
I know. I feel so bad about it. Like I literally as soon as I was done, I was like, Chipper, I got bad news. I used the Seavengers and no bueno. Anyway.
You're like, I don't think we can talk to the swimrun moms next week. We're going to have to avoid them, which is why we skipped a show.
We couldn't deal with it.
We're trying to figure out a way to break it to us gently.
Yeah, I was standing at the edge of the void.
And Annie, what would you give based on your assessment and time with the
I feel like I have to abstain from officially rating because I didn't test them for swimrun.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm going to give them a 2.5 on the pull buoy. Again, they're not for me. I do see an application for them, but I personally, I couldn't get by with these socks. I would probably opt for going sockless as opposed to having these on. Just my personal thing, just because the seams.
Wow.
My feet getting.
Way to twist
His
the
dogs
knife,
were barking.
The dogs were barking. My feet were getting really hot. And the 2 mile, I mean, I was about ready to take my shoes off and throw them in the pool.
Well, and that might speak to something about your choice of equipment in certain weather conditions.
It could.
I don't know that I'd wear these socks in a 90-degree.
I would agree with you.
Fair enough.
I would not recommend that. I do, similar to what Annie said, I could see, actually, if you do own a bicycle and you do ride around when it's cold, this is genius.
Yeah,
it's
I don't know why
totally
I didn't think
genius.
about
and
that.
those shoe
they
covers,
sell that. They sell those that are super expensive.
I know.
And these were just $16.
Totally. I think these are the hack. I used to wear,
Yep.
I used to put plastic bags on my feet and stick them in my bike shoes. And now I can do this. And this is so much classier. Or you can spend $70 on a neoprene shoe cover that's fiddly as heck. And as soon as you step on the ground, it rips.
Yeah, exactly.
I also could see myself using these on a swim. If you're just doing a swim and the water's cold and you want to kind of deal, because the padding on the bottom is nice. You could walk around the beach and it would be totally cool.
Yeah, or the sidewalk if you're going from your car.
I love how you guys are all trying to make me feel better after.
Okay. I have another way to make you feel better. I am actually going to come out of my abstinence of a pull buoy rating and give it 2 categorical pull buoy ratings. One category is for non-swimrun applications, which there are many, and I give it 4 pull buoys.
Yes!
And
wow.
Yeah. The other one is the categorical rating of how they look on your swim run partner who's in love with them. And I give that one 5 pull buoys.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
that would
on
be
Brooke.
unanimous.
Heather.
That would be unanimous. If you have a partner that loves them, 5 pull buoys.
Yep.
Thanks, Annie.
Sure.
Oh, now I feel really good. Okay. Now I feel like empowered to
And
give.
if anyone's struggling with how to be a great swim run partner, just learn from what I did.
The psychology of the swim run partner. We could write a book. Yeah. So I was actually waffling there for a second on my pull buoy rating because of everything that you guys said, and I'm very easily influenced by peer pressure. But now I feel built up to give my honest rating. And I am going to give it I'm going to give it a 4.5 pull buoys.
Ooh, nice.
I don't, the only reason why I dock the half is because I suspect the seams could be better, less, like more seamless. But other than that, I love it. I love it on the swim. I love it in transitions, and I love it on my runs. I don't get any blisters. So yeah, 4.5.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think if we're sort of to sum it up, I think it's really cool that you went so out of the box in terms of what would be like, I guess, like the solid lane.
Bucking the system.
You know, just like, it's like, oh, let me go with these socks that have no noted application for running necessarily. It's for beach stuff.
No,
and
not even a noted
work.
application for swimming.
Yeah. So
and let me apply it to a sport that does both of those things.
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So we hope everyone enjoyed this episode of the show.
You know what's going to happen is we're going to get emails on emails about people like, I have been using these and I love them. And the Low Tide Boys, what have you guys been smoking?
Yeah.
Except they're going to be like, I've been using the Seavenger Zephyr because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. The other thing
repeatedly.
The one thing that's definitely not going to happen is we're not going to get a call from Seavenger being like, hey, we want to sponsor the show. Like, screw these
surprised.
That would
But Brooke might get an individual call.
Yeah.
She might. She could be an ambassador.
Yeah, we were actually, Chipper and I were joking the other day. It's like, oh yeah, we mentioned on the show, like, they must have been like, what's going on? Like, we're getting sales. Like, we never get any sales. Like, what's happening in these next 10 minutes? Everyone's like buying socks.
We just sold another 10 SeaSnugs.
Yeah, that's the kind of power we wield on this show.
On our tens of hundreds of thousands of listeners.
Yeah.
They're just piled on top of each other. Mm-hmm. Well, again, Swimrun Labs, we thank you for coming on. Everyone check their stuff out, swimrunlabs.com. Always reviewing the newest and latest gear with that scientific edge on it, which is great.
Yeah.
And I want to thank the Low Tide Boys for being open to trying something so out of the box.
Oh, this was great. Super. I mean, I'm super glad we did it.
And also taking a scientific edge, Chip. You're really up in your your data-driven game.
He is. Yeah, I don't even know him anymore.
Who is this man
science stuff
that I've partnered with?
Because I have a lab coat on, Chris.
Maybe he's been talking about his science experiments, all these swims that you can't hear him.
Yeah.
Maybe this has always been what he's like.
All right, that's the end of the show. Way to go, Andy. Way to go.
I think we need another rim shot to close it out.
Boom, boom, ching. Good night.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Gear Talk with the Swimrun Labs. You can learn more about all things swimrun at swimrunlabs.com.
If you have any questions or requests for us to review on the show, send us an email at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening to this and your other podcast, and leave a review if you're so inclined.
We'd like to thank Writing Easy Records for our show music, and of course Annie and Brooke for sharing their wealth of knowledge with us.
We'd like to give a huge shout out to our wives for letting us do this sort of stuff. And until next time, be sure to go out there and go for a swim.
And then a run.
And then another swim.
And then a run.
Might as well throw another swim on there.
And a run.
And then just keep going.
Okay. Don't stop. Won't stop.
Can't stop. Welcome to Gear Talk. I'm
and I'm Chris.
I couldn't. Hold on.
Wait.
Hey, can we?
We should just
can
keep
we
going.
At some point, have a bunch of takeouts. Like,
this is the
can we
worst
have a
one for me.
takeout section where it's like you saying just that phrase over and over again and busting up
Like
laughing?
in repeat.
I'm sure. Yeah. Okay.
Well, maybe we can put this at the end as like an outtake.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Outtake, takeout.